Hey everybody, it's CJ with AT3 Tactical, and whenever I'm trying to take apart a BCG, I'm always having to bounce around to 5 or 10 different videos to learn how to do it properly. I figured you guys had the same problem, so I wanted to do an all-encompassing guide with all the tools, tips, tricks that you're going to need to properly disassemble and reassemble your bolt carrier group. Alright, let's start the disassembly process, or what the military calls field stripping. And the great thing about BCGs is that we don't need any tools for this, except your meat hooks or fingernails that, come with your hands right out of the box. We're going to remove the Cotter pin first. This is the pin on the side of the BCG, and I like to use a small hook tool, or even, like I said, just the tip of my fingernail to pull it out. Once the Cotter pin is out, the firing pin should just drop right out. So be ready to catch it. After that is out, we'll remove the cam pin. Push the bolt back in the carrier as far as it can go, and then turn the cam pin 90 degrees and pull it straight out. With the cam pin removed, you can now slide the bolt out of the carrier, and you have a successfully field stripped BCG. A field stripped BCG is all the old GIs would have to do to keep their BCG running clean, keep it lubricated, and running well overall. Most people stop here, but we're going to take it a step further and remove the extractor, ejector, and gas rings for you guys, but we'll need a few tools to make that easier. The first tool we recommend is some type of bench block for stability, but if you're planning, like we are, to completely strip down your BCG, including the extractor and ejector, then the Real Avid Master bench block will make this whole process a lot easier. I like to have a small pick hook set for the Cotter pin, a 1/16 and 5/32 punches for the ejector, a small mallet or hammer, and a starter punch and a roll pin punch as well. Round it out with some light gun oil or grease, and we got everything we need to completely deconstruct the bolt. Let's start out with removing the extractor. To do this, locate the small pin that secures the extractor to the bolt. You'll see two pins on the side of the bolt. The larger of the two is the one holding the extractor, so that's the one we'll start with. Apply slight pressure to the extractor using a punch, and then carefully push the pin out. Keep in mind that there is a spring and possibly a rubber washer inside, so be mindful of these two small parts when removing the extractor. At times they can fall out if they're getting older. Now on to the smaller pin, which is where the ejector will be. Push the 1/16 punch through the ejector pinhole and through to the other side, replacing the pin with the punch. This next part is very important. Place your thumb over the ejector area and pull out the punch. The ejector plunger and spring will come out, and if your thumb isn't over them, they will fly across the room, so make sure to remember that. We're almost done, and the last part is to disassemble the gas rings, and these are only necessary to play with if you're shooting your AR frequently. They rotate freely and can be bent, so be careful when handling them, guys. We've heard of people using anything from screwdrivers to C-style pliers, but I find it easiest to grab one of those rings using a handy pick tool that we've been using already. Sneak the pick through one of the open slots in the rearmost gas ring. Rotate the pick all the way around the bolt and gently pivot it in such a way that you're able to lift the ring and push it towards the rear. Repeat the process with all three rings, and bada bing, bada boom, you got a completely disassembled BCG. Before we put this back together, just look at those gas rings and make sure that they aren't burned, that they aren't bent, or that there's no burrs on them. The biggest thing here, guys, is to make sure that they're still straight after you've been monkeying around with them, because if they are bent, you might want to swap them out with some fresh ones. Now, let's put this thing back together, and we'll start by going in reverse and putting on the gas rings. You see how there's a little gap in the ring, making a kind of C shape? What you're gonna do is hook one side of the C into the bolt and push around the circumference of the rest of the gas ring, making sure that it slips inside all the way around. And just repeat the process 3 times for all 3 rings. Always remember to ensure that the 3 gaps in the gas rings are spaced apart equally to prevent any gas leakage. Moving on to reinstalling the extractor, make sure that the extractor spring and the little rubber piece is in place, if you have it. Not all BCGs have this little rubber piece, so if you don't have it, don't sweat it. Align the extractor with the bolt and push the pin back through while applying significant pressure to the extractor. You shouldn't have to push or hammer this. The pin should just slide right in easily. Moving on to reinstalling the ejector, and this can be a little tricky, so I'm going to give you 2 different methods on how to do this. First, place the pin in one of the ejector holes slightly, but don't push it in all the way. Now put the spring in the ejector channel. Let's grab our ejector, and if you take a real close look at this ejector, you'll see it has a notch cut into it. One side is thicker and the other is thinner. We want to make sure that we're inserting the thinner side of the ejector first. The thicker side is going to be the front, and that's what's going to be protruding out of the face of the bolt. Insert the 5/32 punch into the ejector pinhole and press on the plunger until the punch catches the ejector. Push or gently hammer the ejector pin all the way, pushing the 5/32 punch out. The second way is much easier because we're going to be using the Reassembling master block. When we look at the bench block, we see that there is a little cutout labeled bolt. What we're going to do is grab our bolt, place the ejector inside in the correct orientation, and place our bolt inside the cutout with the cutout for the extractor on the bolt facing towards the top of the master bench block. Taking the screw on the right side, gently screw in the ejector. You might need to hold the bolt in position while screwing in the ejector. This is going to place the ejector in the right spot for us to put the pin in. Next, we'll grab our starter punch, put the pin in, and gently hammer again. And this will slide the pin in gently into place. Once you're done with that, just unscrew the ejector on the right side and lift the bolt out of the vise block. There you go, a much easier way of installing the ejector. Before we move on to assembling the rest of the bolt, we want to make sure that this thing is properly lubricated with some gun oil. This is going to help make sure things are rotating and moving smoothly throughout the bolts. So I would gently oil the bolt itself as well as the cam pin, but don't use too much, guys, because a little bit goes a long way here. We're also going to apply a little bit of Master Pro grease to all the springs. This is going to help prevent friction and help our springs last longer. To put the bolt back into the carrier, first make sure that it's lined up correctly. To know that you're all lined up correctly, just remember the proper way to install the bolt is the extractor at the 11 o'clock position and the ejector at the 5 o'clock position. Most bolts won't let you install the cam pin in the wrong direction, but some bolts do, so always remember the proper orientation for the extractor and the ejector. Once you have your bolt all lined up, go ahead and push it back in all the way for now. Pick up your cam pin, line it up with the hole, and it should just drop right in. Then you can rotate it 90 degrees until it locks in place. Almost done, guys. Just drop in the firing pin back into the carrier and push it all the way in until it's flush. If your cotter pin is brand new, then this should be really easy, but at times the cotter pin will go into the first hole just fine, but then it will spread apart too much and it won't insert into the second hole. The way I counter this is with a handy pick hook. Once you have placed the cotter pin through the first hole, you should be able to look and see the cotter pin inside the carrier. Take your hook and grab the other side of the cotter pin and pull it up towards the cotter pin at the same time as pushing it through. This will squeeze the pin together enough for us to push the pin through the second hole and lock everything together. Don't forget to pull the bolt out all the way and reinsert it into the rifle and conduct a quick function check just to make sure that everything is working properly. Up next, we got to install that little plunger called the forward assist to push the bolt carrier into battery in case something gets a little stuck, and we have a whole breakdown showing you how to do that right here.